Hey guys, David Patrick Green, davidpatrickgreen.com, hackhollywood.com. Really glad to be here, and just wanted to talk to you guys today about how important it is to stay open and available to whatever happens when you're on a movie shoot or a TV shoot or whatever it is you're shooting. So I was just out of town shooting a huge movie, one of the Marvel franchise movies, and I was put into the position of being hired last minute and didn't even get the part that I auditioned for. And when I finally was told I had a part, they told me it was another part that really wasn't related at all. And they finally sent me the day before I arrived, well actually it was a couple of days before I arrived, about this much material. So 110 page script with over 200 scenes, and I am in 2 scenes, but I don't know anything else about the movie other than this much material. Okay, so basically all it was my lines and a teeny little bit of direction, as they call it in the script. So I got off the plane, and if you've seen one of my other videos about my day-to-day shooting schedule, you'll have heard a little bit about this. So I get off the plane and I check my email when I land, and I've got an email from production. I've got a whole new scene. So what I got before, I had to forget and relearn, well, 2 new scenes. And so again, I had a little bit more information because it actually had scene numbers, and my scene numbers were 222 and 226, but I still had no other information about what was going on. And so I didn't know what to do. I learned the lines, I practiced them a few ways, and I tried to understand what was going on based on what little information I had, but there was so much information that I was missing that I would find out later I would have needed to make the right deductions, or I hate to use the word choices because I don't want you to think you're making random choices, but logical, deductive choices based on the facts and information that I was given. And so I had so little information, I made deductions based on what I had, and got to the set the next day, met the director, and it was a splinter group. I wasn't even shooting with the main group. I was shooting with what they called a splinter group. So one of the producers, who is a long-time maker of franchise Marvel movies, was directing the splinter group. This guy was super experienced, knew what he was doing, super casual. He starts to tell me what the scenes are about. It's not at all what I thought. And then along comes the principal director, who I wasn't expecting to meet. He's also the writer of the movie, and he, as it turns out, was the executive producer of Designated Survivor that I had just recently been on. And I think that's actually how I got the job. So that's a whole other video about the connections there and how that works. But he comes up and he starts to talk to me, but then he realizes he's interrupting the other director, and he goes, "Oh no, go ahead, go ahead." So one finishes and then the other one adds something, and both of them are telling me stuff that's not on the page at all. And I'm like, okay, so everything, all of my preparation is kind of out the window. And so I had a few questions, and I said, "Oh, okay." And I tried to, not seem too needy as an actor, and I should have forgotten all of that. When they throw this stuff at you, you've got to just go, okay, now that you're telling me this, what does that change for me? What do I need to do because of it? And what more information do I need to make sense out of the words so I understand where I fit into this whole storyline? All I could figure out was that being scenes 222 and 226, I looked up what is the average number of scenes in a movie, and typically it's one scene for every 2 to 3 pages. So, okay, you're going to get maybe 60 scenes in a 120-page scene script, maybe, 45 scenes to 60 scenes in a 90-page script, I guess. Well, this is 3 times that. Okay, so they are doing scene after scene after scene, because action movies tend to have way more scenes. Anyway, so I knew it was towards the end. Even that this is basically 2 scenes per page instead of 1 scene for every 2 pages. Okay, so it's 4 times as many scenes, I guess. Maybe even 6 times as many scenes as in a typical scripted movie. So things are moving incredibly quickly, and there's 2 scenes between my 2 scenes, but that they did not give me. So I'm flying blind here. I'm just like, huh? But that's how you kind of have to be. You have to maintain a complete openness, and whatever they tell you, you just absorb it and let your body process it, because you have instincts for everything. You have a lifetime of experience. It's not going to be a perfect fit for everything. You're not going to understand certain things, and that's when you start asking questions. Like if you're a doctor, they tell you a bunch of facts, but some of those facts you're not going to really understand. You're going to go, well, what about that? When this person's bleeding and I do this, what level of excitement or urgency am I at? Kind of thing. Like, how important is it? How close is that person to dying? That kind of a question, right? Because that helps you when they're doing something, when you're seeing something, and when somebody's doing something or saying something, you can react to it. So this is also one of the worst possible case scenarios for me. It is all imaginary work. Like, I am the worst person at having to stare at something that's not there and see something happening. That's just not one of my fortes. I don't know how people do it and I'm staring at a screen and I've got to pretend that things are happening on the screen and I'm reacting to them. So I need to know, first of all, how would I react to them? Like, have I seen these things before? Am I familiar with them because it's aliens and things? So I had all these questions, and they came out, and I felt kind of dumb asking them, but they're like, oh, well, realize that in the world of this franchise, people are familiar with mutants, etc. So a mutant per se is not that unusual, but these are mutants you've never seen before. Okay, so what is your reaction to a mutant that you've never seen before? These are the kinds of questions that I have to ask myself, putting yourself in that situation. So I guess it's sort of like, there's animals, but then if you see an animal that you've never seen before, and it's in a weird place, like in the UN, and you don't expect it to be there, how do you react to that? And I'm a newscaster, okay, a producer of news, and I'm in a news van. And so I have to process all this, and I'm totally petrified of the idea of looking at something and having to react to it when it's not there. It's just, ugh. And it's terrifying. So let me just walk you through a little bit about how the process works. So the first thing we do is I do have a full bank it's the wall inside of a news van, and it's got monitors and equipment and sliders to change the camera from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and there's monitor switching buttons, and I'm using this, which is great because I have a monitor to use, then I have another monitor to use. There's nothing on the monitors, but at least I have the monitor to look at. And, when I'm looking at a monitor, I don't know, like, if something goes across it, how fast is it going? So, there's so much to do, and it's all fake, okay? And there's an emotional reaction to it. And I'm talking to someone on a headset who's not talking back to me. They don't even have somebody to give me fake lines, which would have been really helpful, but they didn't offer me that because it's a splinter group, and this was a last moment decision to throw these scenes in, and I'm totally grateful for getting them, but man, they piled a lot of stuff onto my shoulders. So I was pretty comfortable with the scene, the first part of the scene, which is talking to this cameraman who I think is not paying attention because the screen is locked, but as it turns out, everybody's been frozen by this mutant. I'm not aware of that. So then I do that scene. I felt pretty good about it, except for the screen part where I have to go like that. You know, all that crap. Terrible at it. He seemed to like it okay. Then we shot the second part of the scene, which is a little different, and I did not understand the dialogue at all. I say 3 things in succession relating to, like, do we have any choppers in the area? Anybody near the UN? Anybody? And I thought that it was like all of my requests were being denied, and I was sort of, my frustration was growing, and they were like, no, you do have these things. And I'm like, so the dialogue didn't really make sense to me, and I couldn't belabor the point with the guy who's running the whole show. So I said, all right, I'll just do what they told me, but I couldn't really feel it because it didn't make sense to me. But whatever, you just do it. And one of the tricks you can use to make things seem more realistic is to be slightly distracted by something else, to have something else on your mind, because then you end up doing something that is often known as throwing away the lines. It means it's more off the cuff. It's like, oh, you know, I forgot, like, it's not on the nose, you know, it's not, the camera is off. You know, you are able to say one thing while thinking about somebody else and thinking about something else. And that's really the effect of that is what they call throwing away the line. So I tried to sort of distract myself a little bit, like I was thinking about something else while I said these things, just because I didn't feel that comfortable with the actual conversation that I was theoretically having, even though it wasn't a real conversation because no one else was talking back to me. I guess I could belabor this. I don't know why they wrote it that way, but whatever. Anyway, because I guess they would have had to add another part of the person who was talking back to me, and they didn't want to do that. So they left it all on my shoulders. Okay, so we do that. Then they shoot my hands, doing whatever I was doing with my hands. Then, and this is the terrible part, because at this point it's all over the shoulder, I'm sort of turning my head to the camera a little bit like that. Then they flip the whole thing around. And by the way, we're in a gigantic stadium-sized studio, 6-foot stories, black ceilings, black walls, everything's black, except for this just wall that is the van that I'm supposedly in, that they have built. Then they flip the whole thing around, and this is now the camera right on me. And I have nothing in front of me except a bunch of people doing whatever they're doing and the vast studio space. Okay, so all of my references are gone. Okay, the monitor's gone, all of the equipment is gone, it's all gone. Okay, and again, now I've gone from imagining stuff on a screen that at least exists to imagining something on a screen that's not even there. And then, so we do the scene a couple of times like that, and I'm, you know, referring to the other monitors because I have my keypad and I'm hitting stuff on it, and they go, oh yeah, you can't look across the camera like that because the way things look when you switch angles, I still don't understand this stuff because it never looks right to me, but I guess it looks right to the camera. They want you to do things really close to the camera when you're in close-up because any movement looks huge. So, you know, for instance, right now, okay, I'm looking at the camera. If I was to look at where the monitor was, it would be there. But the way they want you to look at it is though, instead of looking at the monitor there, the other monitors are right there, there, and there, okay? So that's 3 monitors in the space of about that much space, okay? Good luck doing that. And that's what they wanted me to do. So actually the first monitor, my main monitor, was right there next to the camera, and it was a green piece of tape. Okay, a green piece of tape represents a monitor that was that big in the van that I actually got to see before. Then the other 3 monitors each took up about that much space, and they were like there, there, and there. Okay? And so I'm like doing this, camera, what was it? Camera 4, give me live coverage. Eddie, are you, do you copy? And then I look at the other monitors and I say something like, Eddie, do you copy? I need a follow shot. Your camera is locked. And then I go to see if the other monitors are doing the same as this monitor, which is being frozen. And I look and I'm like, oh, I even went too far already. So I'm going to look there, there, there. And then I start hitting things on the keypad. And I probably shouldn't have even looked down. I probably should have just like looked this much down, right? Because any movement gets so exaggerated in close-up. Anyway, but I don't know. They need to teach people this stuff. I mean, there's just so many things that happen on a movie set that you're never prepared for, and they're not there to educate you. They kind of assume you know stuff. And so what I really suggest, what I learned from this is that you've got to ask a lot of questions, because they're not going to tell you a lot of stuff a lot of times, because they're always worried about upsetting actors, or the talent as they call it. So you just need to ask a plethora of questions, and it's okay, and you can ask anybody you want, because if they don't know, they'll ask the person who does, or they will refer you to the person who does. So in this case, the cameraman told me don't look over there because it looks stupid. I would have never known, but the director didn't say it. He was back there in the video village looking out on the monitor, and he's sort of restraining himself, and he may be thinking, well, this is garbage, we're just not going to be able to use it, but he's not going to tell me that. So he's going to give me very little feedback, but if you ask for feedback, they will give it to you. So he's going, yeah, that was good, and then he would, like, you can tell when they don't like something because they'll tell you, okay, do it this way, which is meaning don't do it that way you've been doing it. And I got a few of those, I'm not ashamed to say. But what you really need to do is just try to be open and relaxed. And by asking a lot of questions, you will get the answers that will allow you to do your job properly. But if you are too scared to ask questions, or you are too nervous, or you're too locked into doing it a certain way, then you're not going to be able to give them what they need. And it's not really a question of what they want. They don't really know what they want. They've hired you to bring them something, but you have to bring them what's inside of you. But it has to be based on the right set of facts and circumstances. So it's really important, if you don't understand what's going on, don't be ashamed, don't be embarrassed. Ask, dig. There's no stupid questions. The only stupid questions I would say are the ones that you should have been able to figure out yourself, and that you should definitely do as much research as possible and try and study as much of the script as possible. I mean, every piece of information you can find, you should have at your fingertips. But there's going to be stuff that you can't know, because when they give you this much material, what else do you know? You know, they don't even tell me the name of the movie. I didn't even know what movie I was going to be in. I've sort of figured it out now. I'm not going to mention it because it's not really relevant. This is for everything you ever do. This will be relevant for everything you ever do. And so ask questions. Ask questions of your agent, ask questions of the casting director, ask questions of the director, ask questions of the producer. Not how do you want me to do it, but ask questions that fill in the blanks for you so that you can more fully live through the scene, live through what is happening. Because the more you know, the more you can, your body, your instincts will process it, and you'll go, oh, okay, now I get it. This is a life or death situation. If I don't get that extra blood unit, this person is going to die. In fact, not only do I need to get it, but I need to get it in 30 seconds. So I'm going to go, give me 20 units of AB positive stat. If I don't get that blood in 30 seconds, I'm going to lose this guy. So you know what that means, right? And it's the same thing with me. I had to know so much information that wasn't there that if I hadn't asked, I would have never known. Like, and they start talking about seeing something on the screen. It's not even mentioned in the scene. It was the thing they were talking about was actually mentioned in the one they got rid of, but the next one didn't even mention these aliens. And then he starts talking about me seeing aliens. I'm like, where does it say that? He's like, oh yeah, well, you're going to see them coming across the screen at the end. I'm like, oh. And I'm having a moment too. Like, I'm having like this resentful moment, kind of like, well, you could have told me. Like, why did you take it out of the script? And then now you're telling me 5 seconds before I'm going to go sit down and shoot a $150 million movie. Like, that kind of bugs me, but you can't let it bug you. You have to make it fun and go, holy crap, I see aliens too? Okay, what do they look like? Well, it doesn't really matter, you know, they look like this. Or is it really about what they look like? Or is it about the fact that you have never seen them before, but you know that they are an alien and you're not completely unfamiliar with aliens? So basically the message really is, you've got to remain open, do your homework, whatever you can, look for every single fact you can, and go in with that, but be prepared for anything. And that's why you have to be really well practiced in your craft, so that if they throw in changes, they don't fluster you. And, you know, a few years ago, that kind of thing would have just, I would have died. I would have been mad. I probably would have yelled at them. I might have walked off. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. But let's just put it this way. It wouldn't be something that I would have been happy about. Now, man, I've seen so much, but you know, I haven't seen it all. I know there's going to be some time when they tell me to jump into freezing cold water and do a 5-minute monologue. And I'll be like, okay, I have a few questions before I do that. Okay, guys, so anything can happen, and you have to not be scared of the unknown, but embrace it, because trust me, it's coming. You're going to be jumping out of that airplane with your parachute on, and you're going to pull the ripcord, and nothing's going to happen. And you're going to realize, oh, backup chute, you know, oh, okay, so now the parachute I thought I was flying is much smaller and non-directional. It's just, you know, so what do you do? What do you do with this new information? So stay open, enjoy the process, because the more you can enjoy it and embrace it, the better you can deliver, the better you can process the information that they give you, even if it's at the last possible second, you can still process it. You know, a child, if you tell them how to do something, or not tell them to, just tell them, okay, pretend you're a fireman driving to a fire. You know, pretend you're a nurse assisting an operation. Pretend you're a postman delivering the mail. They know how to do that in a heartbeat. They don't go, oh, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that. They just do it because they're not worried about the results. And that's what you have to do, because the results are something far off, and you know, results are all about perception. Does somebody like something? Does somebody not like something? And they're going to process the crap out of whatever you do anyway. There's so many other components to making projects: lighting, sound, score, camera effects, makeup, lens choices, camera, like the camera placement. Is it, you know, far away, medium close up, extreme close up, all that kind of stuff. So there's so many things, so many variables you have no influence over. So don't get carried away with yourself. Really just relax and try and live through it, and don't get excited and nervous, and you'll do a great job, and you'll be exactly what they were looking for all along. They just didn't know it. Okay, guys, I hope this was helpful. Please like this. It really makes a difference. That's how YouTube decides what they're going to put in front of people, is what other people have liked. If it gets shared, if you guys want to subscribe, that would be great. Then you'll get notifications of other videos that I do on how to become a professional actor and what that experience is like, so that you'll know what to expect when you have similar experiences. I'm going to call it a day, and we will talk to you soon.